Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Teonna has no one left to kill. What happens next to Rainwater's 1923 ancestor? Finally, Teonna Rainwater is free from her enemies with no one left to kill in 1923, raising questions about what will happen to her next. Since 1923 Season 1 ending, Teonna Rainwater has been on the run from her boarding school, where she killed 2 nuns. The 2 men chasing her were Father Renaud, her boarding school's headmaster, and Marshall Kent, a ruthless lawman who proved to be one of the Yellowstone franchise's most evil characters. Of course, the Yellowstone prequels connect to the main TV show through the Dutton family. 1883 saw them traveling across America to settle the ranch, while has 1923 shown the Duttons as established, wealthy property owners in Montana 4 decades later. Following the migration of families like the Duttons, 1923 picks up a major portion of Yellowstone's story, examining how Thomas Rainwater's ancestors and the Broken Rock Reservation came to be. 1923 Season 2, Episode 6, was packed with notable character deaths, 4 of which took place surrounding Teonna Rainwater in West Texas. Both of Teonna's hunters, Kent and Renaud, are killed in the episode, finally freeing her from their relentless pursuit. Tragically, their deaths also resulted in the deaths of Pete Plenty Clouds and Runs his horse, leaving Teonna all alone in Texas. She may be without enemies, but she's also without any allies, and it's hard to say how her story will continue. 1923 only has 1 episode remaining, with Episode 7 set to complete the story of the Prohibition-era Duttons. While we're hoping for a proper conclusion to the story, rather than the more abrupt ending to 1883, we may not see Teonna's story directly connected to anything related to Thomas Rainwater. That said, there are a few narrative elements we could speculate on. First, Runs his horse was the tribal leader of the Broken Rock Reservation and Teonna's father, so it's likely she'll at least look to return there in the final episode. As for how Teonna's story will lead to Thomas Rainwater, it's possible that she's pregnant with a son from Pete Plenty Clouds. In this case, she may use her last name due to the father passing away. The final elements to resolve are the law enforcement officers in Texas, like Marshal Mamie Fawcett, who might not be too thrilled to find a series of bodies left behind. This could give Teonna one last obstacle for 1923 Season 2 before allowing her to return home. Teonna has no one left to kill. What happens next to Rainwater's 1923 ancestor? The blood has dried on her hands, but it hasn't left her soul. Teonna Rainwater stands at the edge of a new world, one forged in blood, grief, and survival. The school teachers are dead. The priest is buried in an unmarked grave. She has avenged her beaten past, but now faces something even more terrifying, an uncertain future. She looks out across the vast Montana horizon, wind whispering through the tall grasses like the ghosts of her ancestors. Her father's body lies behind her, wrapped in a simple cloth. Her grandmother's hand is firm in hers. Teonna may not have anyone left to kill, but she still has everything to live for. But how does a warrior become a woman again? The Fugitive Trail. With bounty posters bearing her name nailed to trading posts and post office doors, Teonna can never truly rest. The death of white clergy, especially those tasked with civilizing indigenous children, has stirred anger and fear in the U.S. government. They want blood for blood, and they will hunt for it. The nuns were supposed to be above reproach. Their murders, brutal and unrepentant, have turned Teonna into a legend whispered in both reverence and rage. Guided by her grandmother, Isakshi, and the memories of her father, Teonna rides south toward tribal lands where the government's grip is weaker. Along the way, she and her grandmother help other indigenous families who've been displaced, runaways, widows, orphans. Word of her vengeance spreads across reservations and camps. She becomes something more than a fugitive. She becomes a myth, a protector, a symbol. But Teonna doesn't want to be a symbol. She wants peace. She wants to learn how to laugh again without guilt. She wants to find out who she is beyond the scars. Crossroads with the Yellowstone. Fate is rarely finished with those who defy it. As Teonna hides in the wildlands of Wyoming, she hears whispers of a cattle ranch near Bozeman, owned by a family as stubborn as the land itself, the Duttons. At first, Teonna avoids them. White people, especially powerful ones, bring only pain. But it's impossible to ignore the growing tension between settlers and tribal landholders. Her people are being pushed out, and the Duttons are among those who benefit, if not directly, then the ranch feels different. Jacob Dutton, the patriarch, is older now, wiser. And though he is no friend of the indigenous, he respects the land. So does Teonna. She wonders if there might be a way, not for friendship, but for survival. She meets one of the ranch hands in the woods, an old Shoshone man named Toka, who worked for the Duttons in exchange for safe passage across certain hunting trails. He tells her, "You can't hide forever. One day, you'll have to stand still and grow roots." Teonna doesn't know how to do that, but the idea lingers. Bloodlines and beginnings. One summer morning, as the sun rises red over the horizon, Teonna sits beside a river, feeling the weight of all she's done and all she's lost. A young man approaches, half Crow, half Cheyenne. His name is Ancestor, and he's heard the stories of the girl who burned the church to the ground. They don't fall in love right away. It's not that kind of story. Instead, they speak in silence for weeks, only occasionally exchanging words. He gives her space, he gives her respect. And slowly, without realizing it, Teonna starts to heal. Together, they build something, a small homestead deep in the forest where few dare to go. They gather others, runaways, dreamers, mothers with no homes, sons with no fathers. It becomes a kind of refuge, a place where the government can't find them, where the children are taught to remember, not forget. Teonna teaches the children what she was never allowed to learn, their language, their psalms, their dances. She passes down stories from the before times, from when the buffalo still roamed freely and the stars were guides, not decorations. She becomes a matriarch, unknowingly, a quiet queen of the forgotten. The Rainwater legacy. Years pass. Her body ages, but her spirit remains sharp as obsidian. One night, she dreams of a boy she does not know, wearing a suit and speaking to a council room filled with powerful men. He introduces himself as Thomas Rainwater. Her blood. She wakes with tears in her eyes, not sadness, hope. Through Teonna, the Rainwater name begins its long journey toward power, toward justice. Her descendants will one day lead, not hide. They will sit at the table, not be buried beneath it. She doesn't know how or when, but the seed has been planted. And all seeds grow in time. When no one is left to kill. The greatest revenge is not death, it is living well, thriving. Teonna learns this lesson not in battle, but in quiet moments, the laughter of children around a fire, the taste of wild berries, the warmth of Ancestor's arms in winter. She still carries the pain, she still has nightmares, but she no longer walks alone. No, Teonna Rainwater has no one left to kill, but she has people to protect, and that, in the end, is the greater story. Epilogue, a whisper in the pines. Decades later, long after Teonna's death, a young girl in Montana dreams of a woman with coal-black braids and fierce eyes. She stands atop a mountain, watching over her. When she wakes, the girl tells her grandmother about the dream. Her grandmother nods and says, "That was Teonna. She walks with you." The Rainwater legacy isn't just about survival. It's about rising. Let me know if you want this reworked as a script or scene, or woven into a Yellowstone-style narrative.